right, guys, we are live and we are here with Stephen Cognetti, the creator, writer, director of the Hell House series. How you doing, Stephen?
I'm doing great. Thanks. How you doing?
I'm good, man. Thank you so much for coming on. I reached out to you a while back, like when I first started doing this, but I don't know if I had the right email or anything like that. But it's great that I heard back from you because I love this whole series. Like I'm a decent found footage fan, and I love the whole faux documentary format. That the original Hell House uses, and we saw it again in Origins. But this is a favorite series of mine in the found footage genre. So, I mean, congratulations, first off, on such a successful series. You have 4 movies in the...
Yeah, no, Val Doc is one of my favorites too. My favorite is Lake Mungo. Have you seen Lake Mungo?
Mungo's phenomenal.
Yeah,
I love that movie. Yeah. It's a very deliberate, slow burn, and I know a lot of people. It's very split. I know people who think it's boring as hell, and I think it's just so authentic. One of the most authentic, probably the most authentic.
Yeah, it lends itself to authenticity. I think it's why it's scary, is because it's a slow. It seems more realistic in the way where it's not just a bunch of jump scares that are thrown at you. And that's why the doc comes off so natural and authentic, and because of how it's played out. So I think that makes it more effective. Absolutely, because the whole time you're watching it, you're thinking you're watching a real documentary. You know,
I say that all the time.
Hell House. Yeah, I get a lot of people watch Hell House that reach out to me and say, "Was this real?" And I take that as a huge compliment. But I don't think we did it nearly as well as the realism. I don't think we did it nearly as well as Lake Mungo did it. So I can only imagine how
they were feeling, right? If that's real or not.
Real, so my hat's off to them. I just love what they did. I think that was just perfectly done.
Yeah. Did you see the director's new movie, The Late Night with the Devil?
I haven't seen it yet. No.
Really? Check it out. That's my second favorite movie of the year.
Okay. It came out in 24. Came out.
Yeah, this year it came out.
Okay, yeah, I'm completely backed up on my list of movies for.
Yeah, no, I know you've been working on the last Hell House.
Yeah, it's just it's been crazy. The schedule's been crazy ever since probably the spring of last year. But I know that my list is growing, and I'm like, whenever I just get some time to just not have to worry about something that's on my plate and constantly on my mind. Draining all my consciousness
breath there. You get to relax a bit.
Then I am going to sit down and start watching movies again, and that will be on my list for sure.
You've seen The Substance? That's unbelievable. That movie. Watch that.
Actually, the only movie I've gone to the theater, horror movie that I've gone to the theater outside of taking my kids to children's movies, not take them to see The Substance. I took my kids. I was really smart. I was really clever. I planned this out. I took my kids to. I think it was one of the not Inside Out 2. It was some kids movies playing Minions, one of the new Minions movies.
Okay.
And I noticed at the same time Longlegs was playing at the adjacent theater. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna just drop the kids off.
Yeah, I'll go in there.
And I'm gonna, I'll leave them with their granddad, and I'm gonna sneak out over and watch Longlegs. And I did, and I loved it. It was, I loved every single frame of Longlegs. I think it was so perfectly done. The dread, you just never stop, never let you go. And I was so happy that the few movies I was actually going to make it to this year, that was one of them that I got to.
That's also on my top 3 movies. It's Longlegs, Late Night with the Devil, and The Substance.
Yeah, I saw Late Night with the Devil on Shudder, not in the theater.
Okay.
Right, that's a Shudder original, isn't it?
Yeah, it was. I think it was IFC.
IFC Shudder, yeah. It's streamed by
Shudder, yeah.
And I loved Late Night with the Devil. You're right. That was fantastic. Such a cool concept, original, and it was made so well. You're right. That's a good one. That's a good call.
Yeah, that's a new. That's a more recent one that does that same type of format almost, except it's a talk show. Instead of documentary.
On that, you got to find new ways to do it, and they found a new way to just keep it fresh and. And that's kind of the reason why I'm kind of straying away from found footage for the last Hell House, which is because we've been there, we've done that.
Okay, so it's not found footage is the last one.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Yeah, the last Hell House is a shot traditional narrative, and the reason to do that is because I just think it's just a new take on something we've been on a storyline that we've been seeing. I figure like a fifth found footage film. It was going to be very repetitive and hard to break out of, because you're so locked into that format. It's so hard to present the story and the scares the way I would have liked to have done it when you're just tied into, oh, I have to justify why this is being filmed at all, and it's found
Yeah,
footage.
the
And
whole
therefore,
thing with the camera's always there.
Yeah, then I couldn't tell the story that I wanted to tell. Then I'm kind of locked into telling a story, like with with a couple, both my hands tied behind my back, trying to tell a story. So I went about it differently. But all that to say is that the new Hell House, the reason I changed formats is because of that. I like keeping found footage or the genre fresh in a different way, and I didn't feel like I had the angle to do it found footage wise. But I love what they did with Late Night with the Devil. They took that kind of foul doc and they did something new, and that's the way to do it. They did something new that no one's seen before, but within that kind of same mold, and it was very delightful. It was a great watch. I love that film.
Yeah, and David Desmalchian, I mean, everybody kills it, but he just blew me away.
He really did, yeah.
He's unbelievable with that. I had a Faisal Bazi, who played Christou on a while back. He's great, and he's hysterical in that movie.
Yeah,
puking on the stage, it's great.
So good.
But
everyone
did a great job. Yeah, and then like I said, the same directors as Lake Mungo, which I didn't know when I first saw Late Night with the Devil. I didn't realize
know that either. No.
I didn't realize until I looked into the Late Night after I watched it, and I loved it. And I saw it was the same directors. I forget their names. It's kind of the brothers, I think, right? The directors of Lake Mungo.
Yeah.
They did that in 2008. So I mean,
that's a long time.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say you've always pretty much been a horror fan.
Oh yeah. I was a kid growing up in the 80s, 90s. So 80s, obviously too young to start watching horror films. My older brother showed me stuff way too early.
Yeah.
But so I dabbled in it at a very young age, but I couldn't. If I watched some of that stuff, like I remember Nightmare on Elm Street, like couldn't sleep, like after I saw it, like the age of
that. The Johnny Depp kill and that used to bug me out because I saw that when I was like 7, 8 years old. Halloween was my first at 6 on Halloween night, which I had no idea what I was up against or what I was about to see, but that was like a year after the Nightmare movie, and that's Johnny Depp coming out of the bed and the geyser of blood, that'll keep you up.
Yeah,
absolutely.
The whole concept of that was just terrifying because then you as a kid you don't like. There's no safe haven. You don't want to go to sleep. You don't want to stay awake. It's just
you're damned if you do. You're damned if you don't. And then you got this hellaciously ugly boogeyman in your dreams, and then as a kid, that seems all too real. That seems as a possibility. Growing up as a little kid, you don't know reality. That's not real. Could happen though, maybe, I don't know. So it's effective. So you've always been a horror fan. I figured that. What got you into filmmaking? I mean, was it just your love for movies? Did you start writing first, or are you into directing? Like, tell us how this all started.
I mean, that's the same thing. I guess my wife always laughs at me like this because she thinks that it's kind of rare, but I've always known what I wanted to do since I was probably like 4 or 5 years old. I've always wanted to make movies, so I've always wanted to direct. Right. And so it's a harder career to get into because you can't climb the ladder of directing, and it's a tough field to get into. But I've always wanted to do it. Never knew it was going to be horror, and especially when I was in film school, I never really thought of horror. I never really made any of the school projects I did. Never really
like short films and stuff like that.
Exactly. I was never exploring horror, but I always loved the genre. And then one day it clicked when I was trying to think of what was going to be the first feature I made, because eventually you have to say, okay, this is it. I'm done making short films, student films.
I gotta.
And then it was what's it going to be? And then I actually I got an idea for going horror because I don't know if you ever watched the original Hell House. It has a lot of credits to Cognetti.
Years ago, yes.
Well, it's got in the credits. There's a lot of Cognetti executive producers because they were family that I went to. I was like, hey, I'm going to make a feature. Can you pony up some money?
Wow. Interesting.
Very little because the budget's so small, but. So a few family members gave me money, but they always were like, you should do horror because horror is like, it's easier on your budget. And I thought about it, I was like, that makes so much sense. Like, I don't know even why, I didn't even know what I was going to make at the time, but I was like, I love the genre. Why I haven't even thought about making something within the genre. Then I wrote Hell House. And I've never turned back since then. Ever since I wrote Hell House, I realized this is what I love. I love writing horror. I love writing scares. And I had so much fun writing Hell House. It was a long time. It took a long time to write that first draft to get to the draft that we actually ended up filming. But then it clicked for me, and it was very obviously later. That would be like right after college, after film school, where I'm kind of like, oh, this is what I should be doing. I should be writing horror. And I knew that I was never going. No one's going to give me their script to direct. So I knew whatever I was going to make, I had to write it.
You had to write it.
I had to teach myself how to write and write effectively in a way that's in any way good, well. And so I just wrote terrible draft after terrible draft after terrible draft until I got something that
I was just going to say, was it challenging at first? I'm sure the first time, writing, creating something, new.
I mean, even really good writers, they always, their first drafts are always, that's the writing process. But it took a while to just kind of, I knew the whole concept. I knew everything I wanted to do with Hell House, how it was going to be a haunted house gone wrong. And it was going to be, and then, but the first draft was not found footage or fake doc.
That was a question I had for you, is that we were always a found footage fan, and is that what made you lean towards found footage? Just because of budget, it was easier to pull a found footage?
No, it was two things. When I was writing that, when I wrote that first few drafts, and it was not found footage, traditional narrative, I just didn't like the angle at it. Two things happened at once, where it was like, I didn't like how the story was being told. I know it's got a good concept of how, basically at its core, all it is a haunted house gone wrong.
Yep.
But how it was being approached in my first few drafts, I didn't like that. But then also, when I realized that going out at this kind of like a documentary style, that will also probably allow me to actually make it, because then I could probably afford to make it. Yeah. And if I tried to do it any other way, I probably wouldn't be able to make it, because I wasn't really raising a lot of money from people. I was getting a few $100 here, a few thousand there, but like and so I realized, like, oh, not only do I realize that going about this in a foul doc way is going to actually make it better, the story that I'm trying to tell, but also it will be achievable because it would be very budget friendly. So those two kind of collided at the same time.
Yeah, and in 2015, Hell House came out. So when did you start working on it? You said it took a while. So
probably I would say, because I knew it took like 2 years when I started writing drafts to when I finalized drafts. So technically, it would have to be around 2012.
Because I know Paranormal Activity, well, Blair Witch, obviously 99, got the whole hype with found footage going, but we didn't really see it explode until maybe Paranormal Activity. I would say like 2009. Like maybe there were others, of course, but I think that was the big series that ushered in.
Yeah, found footage has been done ever since.
Kind of
probably Paranormal. The found footage it's very overly saturated subgenre of horror, because it's easier to make. But within it, you sometimes you get some great gems. And I love trying out found footage films all the time, just because they're just so much fun to watch. And sometimes you get something that is just so awesome.
Yeah, there's a lot of lesser known ones out there. You really got to search through. Like you said, it's so oversaturated, and like you said, because of it's so easy to make. So it's harder to find those good to great ones. But when you look on Tubi, there's like 1,000 found footage movies, and maybe a few dozen are great movies. But I mean, it's amazing what you were able to do from just starting this first script. Now I think you wrote all the story for the first 3. You had that all in mind, or did you write it as you went?
Basically, I mean, not every single aspect of 2 or 3, but basically the backstory of the cult and everything, and everything that I couldn't show, pretty much everything I couldn't show in the original because it was found footage, was pretty much put to the side, but then brought out throughout 2 and 3 and into 4 as well. So all the stories about the Carmichaels and the cult and all that stuff, that was loosely there, that I didn't put into the original film, but was able to like sprinkle throughout the course of the subsequent films.
Yeah. Now,
I don't want to say like I know who these characters were, their names and everything.
Yeah, exactly. The details you had to flesh out.
General idea of it, and I was able, when I approached the scripts, I kind of fleshed things out more. So
I think it shows, because that's one thing I love about this series. I actually love 2. It's my favorite in the franchise. I love the character Mitchell Cavanaugh. He's a great character.
He's played so well.
He did a great job. And the setting of the Abaddon Hotel is like my second favorite setting in a found footage movie. It's Grave Encounters, the hospital, the insane asylum. That's my number one.
Oh, I love that. Yeah,
but the hotel, the Abaddon, is iconic, I would say, at this point. Where did you? Was that in the town of Abaddon? I don't think so. Was it?
No.
No, right? I didn't think so.
No, there's no town.
There is no actual town, right?
No, there's no town of Abaddon. That would be cool. But
yeah, right.
Either
you find the location.
Even if there was a town in Abaddon, we didn't shoot in New York, so Rockland County is a real place.
Oh no, yeah, I know that. That's what my cousins actually live in Pearl River, in Rockland County.
I mean, such a beautiful scenic county.
It is.
But we filmed in Pennsylvania. What I did was there's a comment here.
Yeah, I love what's up, Zodiac? I said earlier, I love how Hell House LLC and the Carmichael Manor complement each other so well. It's impressive. Two of my favorite movies to watch back to back.
Awesome, nice. Yeah, that's great to hear. And that's the point. I wanted people to be able to watch these, and have them complement each other and pick up things. And you watch the later ones, earlier ones make sense, little nuggets you pick up here and there and kind of tie together the more you watch.
I actually just picked up on a pretty important detail now with Origins being out in 2, and like I said, it's my favorite. I never realized when they're looking for the files or before they go there, when she says that somebody flipped. I totally forgot it was Patrick Carmichael.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then when Origins came out, then I went back and I rewatched the first 3, and I said, "Oh, they name dropped him right there." I said, "I've never noticed that," and I've watched these movies a decent amount of times.
Yeah, he's mentioned in the second one.
Yeah,
we flesh him out more, obviously, in the fourth one. But yeah, a lot of these things they'll get tied together. They'll just have a brief mention something in an earlier session, and then an earlier movie, and then there'll be the payoff for it. You'll find out later, a few films later, or something like that. But
yeah,
and there'll be something so small that you don't know, and then it'll have more meaning later on. That's the whole point of it, though. But I was happy to drop that little nugget in the second one with the intention of paying that off at some point. Like, who is that person?
Yeah, I was gonna say, did you have that in mind, like a prequel story in mind? You had the prequel story in mind?
Oh yeah, I had everything, and especially a lot of the cult stuff was very fleshed out. And so that was easy, kind of writing 2 and 3, but especially the fourth one. It was easy writing this origin story with the backstory of the Carmichael, because I already had it all written out. What happened to Patrick Carmichael at the cult? How did everything go down? What was his connection there, his family, all that stuff. I had that written out for a long time. So, but I was never going to go back and make a prequel movie and live in the 80s, because there's so many reasons. I've discussed this at length on so many different times that just can't do it for budget, and also that the hotel. It's just not what it used to be. So we just couldn't do a period piece, really, going back in time. So we can only do little nuggets here and there, jumping back in time. And so I was only able to bring out that story a little bit here and there to flesh it out. But
you did a great job.
It's there as a subplot to kind of guide our main A plot in the present day forward.
No, I think a great job, because it feels so organic going through and if you watch the movies back to back, which I've done before Origins came out, they flow so well. And that's why, because you had that outline and idea of the backstory, because I love the lore behind the hotel. I think, that's excellent with Tully and then the cult. And then later on, we find what happened with Patrick Carmichael at the manor and everything. It feels so organic. And I'm pretty sure I read in the past or heard maybe in an interview or something that you had the outline for it. So I was wondering how much.
Yeah, I had that out. And, and that's the whole purpose of it. It's really supposed to all tie together and pay off. And there's supposed to be a reason why you've watched the previous films. Mm-hmm. And there have to have been meaning for it, and not just there just to be there. There's a lot of everything's done on purpose. But I think this last film, this fifth film, is going to do the same thing. It's going to be something where you're going to want to have to rewatch
and pick up
the first, and to really know where we're going in the fifth one, and how the story's playing out. So I think it's going to I think you'll appreciate the fifth more if things, if all 1 through 4 are fresh in your mind. That's what I'm trying to say. Not to say that you have to watch series like that. You will appreciate the film regardless. I hope. I think it's just got it's a good story with a fantastic cast and some good scares, but a lot of it will just mean more to people who know all the events that came before it.
Yeah, and there's a huge fan base for this series. I mean, I would say this is one of the bigger found footage series and more popular ones. Like over the years, I hear more and more love for this series every single year. And then as soon as Origins came out, then it got even bigger. Now, it's interesting that you said that you started the first Hell House script not in the found footage faux documentary format and was thinking more, like regular storytelling, shooting it that way. How interesting was it going now to this fifth film and doing it that way and doing it not found footage and original, like the original way of how you started thinking of the project back in the day with the first movie?
Yeah. I was just so excited to do
freeing, I'm sure, a little, right?
What's that?
Freeing, I'm sure, a little with the
100%. It's so freeing to not to write where I'm not constantly thinking, but why is someone holding a camera in this conversation?
And that's that's the big complaint many people with found footage have is why people
I think it's easier to do if I were going to if I was going to sit down and write a completely original found footage film. I think it's something that's easier to do, but when you're trying to fit into a world where you've already made 4 before that, that's where it gets like tricky, because it's so hard to constantly justify all these things being filmed within the same story. And so if I were going to sit down and just write something completely unrelated to Hell House, maybe come up with something clever like they did in Late Night with the Devil, something where the format's there, but you can't do that when you're already within this world.
Yeah, when you're already established.
I felt like it was getting stale. I love doing it with, don't get me wrong, Hell House Origins was very fun to write for that reason, that it was a found footage for me, but I kind of felt like I was doing something completely new within the world, because it's the story of the Carmichael family, basically, it's shot in the Carmichael Manor. We're not in the Abaddon Hotel anymore. So that itself on its own was very liberating to write a Hell House story.
Different location,
yeah, exactly, in a whole new location. So new characters and everything. So that was liberating too. So for this one, I wasn't gonna get into this place where, okay, well, I have to do found footage again in this story. It just really, what it did is it made me very excited just to make the film, because I knew it was going to be completely different than what people had seen before within Hell House. And I really liked the script, and I knew that the scares were going to be different because it's not found footage. So we've seen everything. We kind of like, how can we scare you with someone's amateur camera recording something, they caught something. I love that. I love those things. I love seeing them. Not only I love seeing them in all things, like, but I just felt it was getting stale within the world of Hell House. So I just wanted to, it's a different way of telling the Hell House story also, but also presenting the scares.
Yeah, I'm sure with Origins, it was similar, like you said, with a different setting. So you have totally different ways of setting scares up.
Yeah.
From in the Abaddon, which we're so familiar with. But it takes a lot to be aware of that. Having a series going on a 5th and final movie, to be aware that, all right, I don't want to make this get stale. And switch it up. You see some people, exactly, that'll just do the same thing, 6, 7 movies, series, and just the same beats and stuff. But it takes a lot of self-awareness.
It's also that, but it's also maybe there's a little bit of boredom in that as well, where the format as a filmmaker is not fun to do for the 5th time as well. So it's a little bit of trying to keep things fresh and present a new Hell House story in a completely different way. But also, as a filmmaker, I'm like, I love traditional filmmaking. I love covering a scare rather than just having it shot in that POV format, making it traditionally. And so I was kind of bored with making found footage, as well as
restrictions, I guess, that the genre puts on you.
It's a fun film. It's a fun style of filmmaking. It's a great way to present scares, because the way. But I've done it 4 straight times. For the 5th one, it's just for so many reasons I wanted to do something different. And I know there's a lot of people that like Hell House because it's found footage, and it's a genre that people like, and they might not want to watch it because it's not found footage anymore. And I completely understand that. I get that the likes of movies are because they're found footage and people
I
love
think
it.
though that the people who are really invested in this series and have followed it since, the beginning, or hopped on with 2 or 3 or Origins, they're so invested with this story because it is such a fascinating story.
I hope so. Yeah, I'm hoping.
I don't think most are going to care. That they care about the
also,
story.
It's still a little bit of a gamble on mine, just assuming that people will or hoping people will watch it. That even though we've completely switched the format, why people have been watching it from the beginning. So what I promised myself is that if I was going to do this, I was going to make it worth people's while, make it worth their time to still check it out, even though it's not in the way that they have been watching the Hell House movies. And that's my hope, is that they'll say, oh, okay, no, this was a good change of pace for the franchise.
Yeah, I think.
What I hope they will say afterwards, of course, I knowing that's probably there are. I understand there's going to be some people that it will like. I wish this.
Of course, you can never please everybody
with anything. I will totally understand that viewpoint. I think hopefully the majority of people that see it will feel that it was the right direction. They appreciate taking it away from found footage. It's not only that, because I feel like there's so much you could tell in the story wise. When it's found footage, you're really restricted story wise what you can do. And the reason it's foul doc a lot, because in documentaries you can get a little bit more exposition in certain ways through interviews and stuff like that you can do when you're just straight doc. So I mean straight found footage. So but it's really hard to tell a narrative story in that format. So it allows doing it this way allows for the story to really grow, as well as the scares to be completely different than what we've seen. So I hope people enjoy it, but you know what? We won't know until next year.
We got I'll hop in the chat quick. Hey, what's going on, Matt? Hey, JT and Steven, really enjoying the interview while making my dinner. Top job. Nice to see you, buddy. Hope everyone had a Merry Christmas. Hey, Jamie. Hope you're
now we got to know, what are they making for dinner?
Yeah, what are you making for dinner, Matt? Leave that in the comments. I'll bring it up. So with the casting for the original, did you know any of the actors, or was just the casting?
I knew two. I knew Mac and Tony.
Okay.
So, but they were not originally supposed to be in the film. So Mac was a late addition, and I knew Adam Schneider very well. We have done some shorts together, and mostly comedic, because he's a comedic actor, improver, and Tony's the same way. Jared Hacker, I knew him the same way, just through a friend. I know in New York City, he's an actor friend of a friend, and he does improv and he's comedic based. So I had him originally come in to read with the actors. Some of the people that we got callbacks. Jared would read, with Sarah, Jennifer Ryan, and Gore and Danny, and then really it was just, as they were doing the readings, I was kind of feeling like, Jared just seems very natural at reading with these guys, and they're having chemistry while he's doing readings with them. So I'm like, and I don't have a Tony yet. Why not try him as Tony? And that's how that formed. But it was a tough casting process. It took a long time to find the right, core five.
Yeah. Especially like you said, you've had the story and we're working on it for several years beforehand. So
I think I mentioned, so I knew these characters. 2011, 2012, I started writing it, and then we didn't shoot until 2014. Mm-hmm. And then it came out I think it came out in 2016. So it was a really long process.
I mean, happy accidents like that are great. Like just having, like you said, having him there reading, and then say, you know what, I don't have the character cast. It's
fun. And he's such a good guy, and he's really funny and a good person.
The whole cast is likable.
All of them are great people, and they got along so well. So
that shows through the movie.
They were very close throughout filming, and I remember when we were done for the day, we'd all go back to our hotel rooms, and they would just hang out together more. They'd go one of the rooms and watch a movie together. That's great. I think Sarah had them all come over to her room to watch Poughkeepsie tapes. A few of them haven't seen it yet, and she's like, "Oh, you guys, we're making a found footage movie. I got to show you one of my favorites." And she brought.
That's another one that could, some people I've heard. I had an argument with somebody actually years ago that's real. The Pickens,
yeah,
which is a testament to it. I mean, as disturbing as that movie is, it is a testament to how well done it is. Just like Lake Mungo, just like Hell House. That it's interesting what led to the Hell House in Hell House 2, the change from the faux documentary to more straight found footage. Was it just to explore the background of the hotel more? They're in the hotel, so it fit more without the photo.
Yeah, it's just where the story was taken. Like, and every film is unique to its story and how the format's going to be.
Yeah, like you were saying earlier. I mean, it's great that how you changed it up. Even in the found footage genre, every movie in the series has a very different feel to it.
Yeah, it does. Thanks for saying that. I hope you try to keep it fresh, but as I was saying, it's so hard to try to. By the third film, I was realizing that I was like, it's losing. We're losing the juice. I'm losing my creative juice, just kind of rewriting same things to happen in 2C over and over.
I will say out of the fourth, 3 is my least favorite, but I think there's great stuff in there. I mean the crazy ending.
What I love about 3 personally is the actors. I think they did such a good job. Great. I loved that cast. They were all
the guy
great.
Who plays Wynn.
He's everyone, like even like the other actors within Insomnia. They're just funny people. Everyone had a great time on that set. I know I enjoyed making the film. I think everybody did such a fantastic job on it. And I just feel creatively from my own standpoint writing it, I could just tell that I can't write anything more scares for the Abaddon Hotel. We got to really
relocate
and figure. And so and then that's why I burned it down to the ground at the end there. But
that makes sense actually.
Yeah, and then and then I thought I was done with Hell House, but I still had so much story to tell that was written and never had seen the light of day. So then when I came back to it later on, it was the Carmichael Manor was probably the script that wrote itself the fastest. Just because I had all this there, and once I just committed, I was like, okay, I'm actually going to sit down and write a new Hell House movie and just see where this draft takes me. And the draft, I loved the first draft of it. And I was like, okay, we're definitely making a 4th film. I like where this is going.
Because it was a decent gap of a few years.
It was, because I made it. Obviously the pandemic hit. And then in 21, I filmed another film called 8254's Road, which I've talked about for so long, and has never seen the light of day. And it's so funny. If anyone's followed me on Twitter or Instagram, they're probably seeing me talk about this film, just coming around the corner.
It hasn't been released. It hasn't been released. Not released.
Now I think it might it come out in 2025 now. It finally got I found a distribution home. I'm not exactly sure where yet. I don't think it's been. I think it was announced a few months ago who acquired it and where it's. But this
is a different project than the new one.
So I shot that in 21, and that's why I've been on the Hell House films for so long, because it was 3 came out 2019, the pandemic. Then I filmed this in 21, and that was probably 2 years before I didn't really know where I was going, what I was doing, and then so in 22 in 22. I think it's probably I don't know if this 825 movie is ever coming out. I have this idea for a 4th Hell House movie, and I just sat down and wrote a draft of it and loved it, and instantly just fell in love. I said, I'm making this in 2023. I love this origin story, this Carmichael Manor story. And is that what I was saying before? Is that it's one of the scripts that wrote quickest, just because I had probably been away from the world for so long, but also being in the new location, as I said, everything, and having this story kind of seed in my head for so long that once I sat down, put figurative pen to paper, it just came out so quickly. And the scares were just flowing, and the story and everything. It was just a pretty quick process. I mean, it was a few drafts to get it to perfection, but the first draft, I didn't hate like I usually do with the first draft of the script.
I'm a lifelong musician. I know the feeling. The first
yeah, it's the same thing with writing music. It's just exactly. Music evolves over time as you're writing and tweaking things, and it just it's never how you first come about it.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with screenwriting as well. From what you first started to where your finished locked production draft of the script is completely different.
Yeah, rarely is it exactly the same as the first initial idea.
But that first draft of Origins is where I just knew I was like, oh, this is good. I like this. I'm going. This is what I'm doing next. And so then I kept on writing it, and then at some point, got the whole gang back together, and went into production pretty soon. Yeah, but the biggest challenge was finding the manor, though. Once I realized I wrote about a manor, I was kind of like, oh shit, I have to find a manor. But that thankfully worked out.
That reminds me. So both of those locations, then, how was scouting for the Abaddon Hotel? How was scouting for the manor? Was one harder than the other? I'm going to guess that the manor was harder because the hotel was established.
No, the hotel. Well, originally finding the hotel was tougher.
Initially, okay.
Initially, it probably took a longer process of reaching out to a lot of people, traveling different places, and then finally finding the Waldorf Estate of Fear, owned by Angie Moyer, and she was just she's such a fan of horror movies. Obviously, if you own a Halloween haunted house, you have to have a love of all things horror. So, she was just great to work with. So we were lucky we found that place and Angie, and that's and it worked out and fit for the story. Carmichael Manor it wasn't a long search, but it was a very stressful search because we filmed in April of 23. And I remember it being like February, and I still didn't have a place. And so we were filming in a few months, and so I was I was very nervous. And I reached out to this mansion, kind of local to me, only about 25 minutes away from where I live, just on a whim, being like, all right, let's see if they'll even respond to me. And they did, and they were very excited. And they said, come on in, take a look, take a tour of the place, see what you think. And I did, and I loved it. And then I reached out. I said, hey, I just got back from touring your mansion. I loved it. I think it was built specifically to make a horror film in it one day. And can we make this happen? And they were very on board for making it happen, which is great.
Did they, by chance, any of them see the Hell House films at that point? Any of them?
At that point, no. No, they're very like fun. It's a family. It's owned by a family that are very just like good people, fun people. They own a rugby franchise. They a professional rugby team out in Washington State. They travel back and forth there. And so I didn't seem like when I met them, I didn't seem like there's people that had watched much horror at all, let alone. Very small footage film like ours. So,
the lesser known ones.
Yeah. By any chance you've seen Hell House? Yeah, I knew that was. And I know the woman, she Melanie, who does most of the day-to-day care of the mansion. He hasn't seen Origins, Carmichael Manor, just specifically because. She's there by herself in that.
I was thinking that.
And she's like, I'm not going to watch this one because then I'll never want to be in here by myself to work again.
She'll have nightmares forever.
Yeah,
that place. But it's an effective setting, just like the hotel is, and it's disorienting. That's one of the best things about the hotel, I would say. But the manor's that way too.
But the hotel is disorienting for the actors who were there. Like they got lost all the time.
I can imagine.
So that is it's because it's built that way. It's specifically built to disorient you, not really know where you are sometimes, and so that worked for the film perfectly.
Oh, definitely. I had a question I thought of, and then it flew away. So maybe it'll come back. Oh, okay. No, I got it. What was it like going back to the faux documentary format for Origins, which I said 2 and 3 was some more of like a more straightforward found footage.
Yeah, I think it was. I think that is another reason why the script wrote so easily is because I went back to a format that I knew and I liked.
That's what made me think of the original.
I wrote the original Hell House that way because I loved that style, and then so going back into it for the fourth film, I think just actually something that I should say is that it was fun about writing Origins is that when I was in the process of writing, I was in the draft process. In the background that whole time were the Murdoch murders. That whole saga was going on, and the trial of the Murdoch murders, and that's very true crimey. And I think that definitely played an influence on me making this like more sleuthy true crime. And because I was kind of like watching this parallel to my writing, I was keeping a close eye on everything going on in that wild place in the Low Country of South Carolina, but as they say, the Low Country. But so I think that had an influence on making up who Margot was and what she was doing, and her backstory was just like what was external influences playing out alongside. But that was because I was going back to that foul documentary style. It wrote very easily because it's a style that I just love to write in. So everything came very easy on that fourth film.
Great. There was what would you say are your biggest influences, like directing wise, writing wise, favorite horror movies, anything that led to
my favorite horror movie is The Exorcist by far.
Great masterpiece.
And everything William Friedkin did on that was I think it's just filmmaking at its best. So that's probably my greatest love within the horror genre. But I love all movies, all genres across. I don't have like one that I only stick to or anything. And directors across all genres that I love and appreciate.
Which is great, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to obviously to see Robert Eggers' new film as well. That just came out.
Nosferatu came out 2 days ago. Yeah, I'm hearing good things.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean he's amazing. He everything he makes is it's just on another level. And but nothing really that influenced my work. I try to, I think probably for me, the greatest influence storytelling wise, maybe it has been just my love ever since I was a little kid, my love of Stephen King. Okay. So like the first novels I was able to read were all Stephen King novels. Although I do have to say the first actual horror novel I read was not Stephen King. I think it was it was Hell House by
the novel.
Yeah, the novel, so because of that, I slipped that little bit of trivia into the opening of Hell House. Obviously, the character of Alex was a fan of the novel as well, like I was, and that's why he named his company Hell House. But then there's the trivia that they're playing in the car ride over about I Am Legend.
I Am Legend, yeah, right?
Yeah. And so it's a shout out to the author, and Stephen King was just an early influence because I just read The Stand was probably one of my first books of his I read.
Oh, great!
And
that's one of
to this day is my favorite novel.
Yeah, it is my favorite novel.
Yeah, it is so. Yeah, it's so good. All those early 70s, 80s novels are they're all classics. And
no, you can't beat them. I mean, I have like 3 bookshelves that I'm full of just Stephen King, from Carrie, just like in chronological order and stuff. Yeah. I stopped collecting his novels and reading them really after maybe a little bit after 11/22/63, like around that era. Yeah, I haven't read a new Stephen King novel in a while.
Yeah, I haven't either, just because I haven't read anything in a while. But I read 11/22/63, and that was such a page turner. I just remember being into that,
which is always good for something that long. That book.
I know, but I love the long novels. I love a novel if it's long, but you're just when you
don't want to put it down.
You don't want it to end. And so when you're into it like a novel that you don't want to end, but it's only like 200 or 300 pages, it ends very quickly. Where you have a page turner that's like 800 pages. I'm thinking like Bag of Bones is 800 pages. I love Bag of Bones, and that's a great one. I think 2263 is like what? It's only like 400 or 500 pages, but still that's pretty significant. But that was a great story, and the miniseries was fantastic on Hulu. That was actually adapted very well. I appreciated that.
Yeah, we've been getting more and more great adaptations of King's work. I mean, look at Flanagan doing a lot of them. Well, I mean, with Gerald's Game, I think was excellent because that novel I loved, and I never thought I'd see a movie made out of Gerald Tan.
Everything he does is, if he's going, if it's him that's at the helm, it's going to be very well, and he does a great job adapting King.
He does.
Paying the work, the great
homage. Darabont.
Yeah, and Darabont too. Yeah, as well. Yep.
McGarris.
The Mist is one of the to this like so. Like,
it's one of the most depressing gut punch
ending. Everything about it is like so.
Such a gut punch.
Yeah.
And I love how Stephen King liked that ending better, because the ending, I remember when I read the novella, it was like they heard a broadcast on the radio, it gives them hope or something, and it ends. The ending that Darabont came up with, I mean, that just kills you every time you watch that. It's really effective.
Yeah.
With the 5th, I know you can't say much, but I know it's coming out next year.
It's coming out next year. I don't exactly know when coming out next year just yet. But and what can I say?
We have a name, right? I think Lineage.
Yeah, it's Lineage. Right? Yeah,
okay. Hell House LLC Lineage.
It's what I can say that's I know is not really satisfying, but it's just it's completely different kind of Hell House, and it's going to have a lot of things from the past brought forward, things and characters and people we've known from the past that we're going to see again, and it's going to answer a lot of what needs to be answered. There's going to be some things that that we'll never have closure, just because we don't need it.
And I appreciate that. Like I like ambiguity.
Yeah, don't just end
on the movies
things to answer them. So, but the story is going to. No, I'm not necessarily saying that this wraps up everything. And since it's the last Hell House, meaning that everything is just everyone has
a neat little bow tied on everything.
Everyone has a high five at the end, and the day is won, and it's but it's just I just think people are gonna hopefully people are gonna like it just because of how different it is from the first 4, but also I think what people liked about Origins is that it was a little bit of a flashback of getting a little bit more of the history, but also keeping us present as well. We do that a little bit in this one as well, where you're getting a little bit of almost as if it's a prequel, but you're while having a present day storyline as your A plot. So we're gonna learn a lot about the past while keeping the story moving forward in the present.
I think that's a great way of doing it. I'm excited as hell because, with the lore being as great as it is being built up through the series, even though, you had the outline, but seeing it unfold as a viewer and a fan, I love the lore. And any way that in like 4, like you did with flashbacks and stuff that fill in those little gaps, or like you said, what we were talking about at the beginning, like things you'll notice or that you didn't pick up on and stuff like that. I love all of that. And the way that you put it all
together. It'd be really fun to either see this 5th one and then go back and watch 1 through 4, or watch 1 through 4 right before you see the 5th one, and it will come around and it will all make sense, and it will be tied together in a way I think people will appreciate. Hopefully, that's the goal, and we'll see.
Of course, I think most people will have a blast with it. Hey, JT and Steven, huge Hell House fan. Would you ever consider a Hell House series in the vein of the Creep tapes? I remember hearing something about a series years ago, like an idea of a possibility of a series, but then I don't know.
That was that was announced by someone, but it was unofficial, and that there was going to be a series.
Okay, that might have. Yeah, I remember something like that.
And then, which was something. It was something that was considered for a while. Nothing was ever official, but. Which is better, it's just because I kind of like the feature format anyways. So I like making features. And so which ended up, but I still had, I started writing all that backstory anyways. And so that's why I, as I said before, I had all this backstory written there. And there was a way you could do it in a series. There's a way you could do it in feature films, but either way, it was never going to happen because there's no way we can live in that era, as I said, because
in the 80s.
But then, so that's why I like the feature format more, because then we could just we can make a feature film, but just sprinkle in some of the stuff from the past, and it worked. I think that this worked out better, and I just like making features over something like a series, anyways.
Great. No, I think a feature. I mean, the Creep tapes. I don't know if you saw them. A Creep is my favorite found footage movie.
Mm-hmm.
The Creep tapes, I enjoyed them, but yeah. I have some issues with them and stuff. They it's a little repetitive, so I feel like another film to close this series out is probably the best.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how I felt when I heard that rumor about the series, but I did love when I heard that you're working on. I don't know if it's done or where it is, but a project outside of Hell House.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Writing and directing. You wrote and directed.
Yeah, there's 825, which is coming out this year, but that was filmed years back. So to me, it just feels like a film from like another.
Yeah. Okay.
But it hasn't come out. But that's a film I wrote and directed, and it's not found footage. It's outside so that's coming out. In 25, I'm going to be directing another film.
Okay, that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, and I just nothing really has been officially announced about it yet, so I don't think I'm at liberty to say.
Okay.
I
know I heard it. I'm excited.
What I could say about this is that I wrote the script for it, and it's called. I think I can say what it's called. It's called A Body in the Woods.
Okay.
And when we get into production for this, I'm very excited just because I know. For me personally, this was the scariest thing I've ever written, and I really love the script, and I just can't wait to make it. I just don't know exactly when and where and how we're going to be making it, but hopefully we get this all done in pretty soon in 2025. But I love this script, and I'm very excited about this one personally.
Oh, and I'm sure it's great to as much as you love Hell House as your baby, the series and stuff, to do something else completely.
Yeah, it's
very rejuvenating.
Yeah. It's fun to do something outside of Hell House, but it was fun making this last Hell House movie as well, specifically because it was a change in scenery and how we did everything. So everyone we worked on with this in Lineage, everyone we worked on, the cast was awesome. It's got a big cast. And there was nobody who didn't just perform at such a high level, and the crew, everybody, because it's not found footage, we had a bigger crew this time, and everybody just crushed it. Everyone did their jobs well. And since we filmed in like late October into November, some of those nights we were shooting, it was freezing. It dropped down to 30 degrees. Some nights we're outside shooting, and everyone's freezing cold, but everyone's doing their job. And the film, it just looks really great because of everybody's and the crew's hard work, and the actors in front of the cameras, their dedication. And so on every level, I was just very excited about making this film with it, both for how we were making it, but also with the people we were making it with. Just a great group of people.
Zodiac says A Body in the Woods. Great title already. I agree. And I was very excited to hear that news, because as much as I love the Hell House series, I think you're such a talented writer and director, and you have great storytelling. I wanted to see something new from you.
Oh, cool. I appreciate that.
So it's like, once I heard that, I said, all right, great. I said, I love Hell House. I'm glad we're getting a new one. And I think it takes a lot too. Like I said, self-awareness, and just to know when to stop. Who knows what the future holds, but for now, this is the last Hell House that we know of that's coming.
Yeah, thank you. No, I'm hoping I get to make Body, and hopefully that's in 2025. And but when whatever is going to happen with that, it will be announced hopefully sometime soon.
All right, great. Before, I want to be respectful of your time, of course. One last question: we got to talk the clowns. How the hell did that come about? I mean, that's some of the creepiest clowns I've seen in movies.
Well, the one consistent thing that happened from that first draft of Hell House all the way through the end was that scare, especially with the clowns. When I knew that I was going to make a haunt gone wrong, and it's about this group of people that are making the haunt and building it. The one thing the first scare that I ever thought of, conceived in my head, was in the middle of the night, the clown prop is not where it's supposed to be. And then there's a scene where they walk down the stairs to see it standing at the bottom of the stairs. So that's the scare that from the first draft never changed, always was the same. And then I knew the clown. So there's something about about inanimate objects and the uncanny eye. And
Yeah, uncanny valley, the feeling it gives you.
Yeah, and so there's things like that I feel is just creepy. You could play with a lot. So when I was writing Hell House, that was the big theme in my head, to play with that, and to do that was going to be a clown. It was going to be the thing that does that the most. But to make it scary, it couldn't be a silly clown with like crazy frilly hair or big nose or anything. It had to be
Ronald McDonald.
It's got to be something very subtle, very bland, like less is more when it comes to the clown, because I think if it loses effect. So it was really kind of based off of like more like old school clowns from like the circus shows, and you've seen the black and white photos from like the 20s and the 30s. It's kind of based on that. Less features, kind of, just the pale face, and the dead dark eyes that are staring at you. So it all came together. Thankfully, our makeup artist was able to really bring out the blood very well, and
they look great. The whole series, the clowns look excellent. And they are so effective. My sister has always been terrified of clowns, so naturally I told her, check this movie out back when it came out. Well, I didn't tell her anything about the clowns. I said, just watch this movie. It's a great found footage movie. And,
and that was funny about the fourth one, Origins, was introducing the new clowns, and introducing that our Hell House clown had companions to it. And then getting in touch with the mask maker, who was able to come up with the creations, and they did such a great job. And I love the look of the new clowns as well.
I think it's great. Yeah,
and they all may or may not make appearances in the fifth and final film. Awesome. It wouldn't be a finale to Hell House if it didn't have some action.
So we got clown hijinks to look forward to, guys, in the new Hell House coming next year sometime, hopefully fall. But I want to thank you so much, man, for coming on, because I've definitely wanted to talk with you for a while now about this series. And
great. This is great. No, it's great. I appreciate doing this over our break, the winter break, where nothing's going on right now. And so it's great always fun to talk horror, talk Hell House. Appreciate you having me on.
That's all I do every day on there is talk horror. All of us in the chat room, we're just horror fanatics. It'd be great to have you on when the movie drops.
Please, just reach out. You got my contact now. When the movie comes out, hate it or like it, wouldn't mind coming back on so you can tell me what you hated or liked about it.
Absolutely, that's one thing I always will. I give my brutal opinion, but I love everything so far. And like I said, I've been excited to see you do something outside of Hell House as well, because I see the talent there with the writing, the directing, and everything, and I want to see what other stories you have to tell. So definitely excited for that. No, thank you, man. But thanks again for coming on. Just hang on after I end the stream. I'll thank you again. Everybody in the chat, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for the few questions. Everyone in the future watches this. Everyone enjoy this. Hope you guys love this series as much as some of us do. And we got Richard Band coming on the 30th at 1:30 Eastern Standard Time. So we got the other band brother coming on. We had Charlie, and that's what to look forward to, guys. Hope everyone had a great Christmas holiday, and we'll work it up to the new year. I'll have stuff out. But all right, guys, take care. Stephen Cognetti, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much, guys. Talk to you soon.